Good afternoon again. I am Ladina Bolton, your Super District 7 Commissioner, and we are starting our ERPS Committee meeting, Employee Relations and Public Safety. I'm joined by Shakira Johnson, who's one of the other committee members. Commissioner Marita Davis-Johnson will not be joining us today, but she is a member of our committee. We're also joined by Commissioner Ted Terry of Super District 6. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our agenda for the day. Committee members, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, I move to approve item 2025-1227.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, so we do have a presentation today, flock cameras, which is something folks have been asking about for a little while. So we're excited, I believe, to get an update from Chief Patrick. You're going to do the update?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Get my glasses out. So, flock presentation. This is a status update on where we are with our current allotment of flock LPR cameras. And LPR is the license plate readers. Very good tool for the police department. A very important resource, and currently we have in our inventory 183 flock cameras. And is there a thing to, okay, sorry. So on this slide, it shows that we have 183 flock LPR cameras, and this slide, the first one, shows them broken down by district, commission districts. The ones that are listed as pending, the reason they are pending is because they're on state routes, and they have to have Georgia Department of Transportation approval. So we're working with GDOT to get the approvals required. The rest that are on county routes are up and operational. We have no delay with getting those up and running with the assistance of flock. As far as camera locations, the 183 throughout the county is shown in this map. Many of them were picked based on crime data and hotspot information, where we felt it was beneficial to have the camera placements. In addition to that, many were placed based on purchases made by each of the commissioners and specific locations that were important to you all. Camera installation summary on the next page shows all of the different phases starting back to 2021 when we first started allocating the flock cameras, and you can see the different phases. The phase 5 and phase 6 are the only two that still have installation pending, and again, that's due to GDOT permitting and GDOT permission to place those cameras. So we're at 80% installed of the 183. We have 146 in service at this time. The cost of the cameras. A yearly subscription, they've gone up a little bit. Currently it's $3,000 yearly per camera. The last price increase was last year. They went from $2,500 to $3,000. I believe when it started they were at about $2,000, but they are up to $3,000 per camera now. A one-time installation cost of $650 per camera. The repair costs vary depending on what type of damage. We've had I believe 5 instances where our cameras have been damaged. It's very minimal. Off the top of my head, I think only one of those were damaged due to vandalism. The others were traffic accidents where the pole was knocked over that required repair. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Committee members, any comments or questions? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, and thank you for that last point you made. It actually was going to be one of my questions on if we had had any damages. So you already had thought of that and put that in there. I appreciate it. From what I understand of the flock camera system, you can integrate the system, or it is integrated with those cameras that other jurisdictions are using. For instance, our municipalities.
Yes, ma'am.
DeKalb County, so
Yes,
it all is all integrated and
yes, ma'am. We entered the MOUs with different agencies through Flock, and we have access to the Flock database metro-wide.
Awesome. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Terry?
Thank you. Madam Chair. So thank you to Chief Pedrick and the DeKalb County Police Department for working on this for many years. I think we sort of started the discussion in earnest in 2023 at the ERPS committee, and it's been really great to have y'all be so generous with responding to our locations that we had recommended, based on constituent complaints. But understand, I think the top priority is sort of where the hot spots are, number one. Constituent sort of issues kind of were second, but together these 183 locations are really trying to address both of those strategic issues. And I guess really what I'm thinking, hopefully we can get GDOT to get those other ones, pending, but I guess they just started doing them this year, so it makes sense that it takes a while. What are y'all thinking for future installations?
So what we're working on and will be incorporated into a bigger picture with our real-time crime center.
Okay.
We want to go much bigger, not just with LPR, but what they call PTZ, which is the pan, tilt, zoom. So instead of just having license plate readers, we will have other cameras in strategic locations based on crime data, based on the needs, that will give us a bigger real-time crime center that we can see what's going on operationally. In many cases before an officer even arrives on scene, some of these access points would have been very beneficial to many different crimes as officers respond, and we had a real-time crime center up and running. We would have access to view what was going on and give that officer updates before they even arrive on scene. So that's the bigger picture, is a much larger, and it's not just with Flock, it's going to be with Connect DeKalb, the entire FUSIS system, and all of the cameras that we have access to now.
Okay, and I know a lot of those include all the gas stations, just through our video surveillance ordinance. Can you just speak a little bit about how that real-time camera crime center strategy will address some of the concerns that I think a lot of commissioners have received about street racing and intersection takeovers, sometimes very late at night. So if we're lucky, a constituent, like with the one we had at North Decatur and Ponce and Scottsdale, where a neighbor just was able to video it, and you responded that video evidence was very helpful. But do you see like where we're seeing the intersection takeovers? Is that where we would consider the other pan tilt camera?
Absolutely,
okay.
And it would be it would allow us a even better approach instead of just being reactive, finding the evidence and then investigating. With a real-time crime center, our goal is to have personnel in that real-time crime center so they can track these folks when they see it starting to happen, and we'll be able to see and respond quicker and have the information to know where they're going instead of waiting for a 911 call, seeing that they're at this intersection, and then it takes 5 minutes before an officer gets there and then they're gone. So with that real-time crime center and this capability and this access to the camera systems, we'll be able to track that and locate those offenders quicker instead of being reactive.
Okay. And then just last point, just to kind of emphasize why I believe, the expansion of the Flock cameras and the other cameras are so essential to whether it's preventing or reacting, being more proactive, or just trying to track down the sort of the dangerous suspects. And I think we remember when there was the shooting at in Midtown Atlanta, the perpetrator sort of, I guess, hijacked a car, and the Flock camera sort of tracked him throughout Atlanta, but then he went into another jurisdiction. And because they were integrated, I think DeKalb County was able to sort of track the movements. And so understanding that, we're surrounded by 5 counties, I think, and presumably they all have their Flock systems and they're all integrated into the Flock network. Is there any efficacy for DeKalb's purposes and maybe coordinating with jurisdictions even at the borders? So every roadway in and out of DeKalb County, whether it's DeKalb to Gwinnett, DeKalb to Rockdale, DeKalb to Henry, DeKalb to Fulton, does it make sense to sort of have that perimeter covered in essence? So if there ever is a suspect that is a BOLO and high alert, if they leave the jurisdiction, there's an immediate ability to warn the next jurisdiction, or even reverse, to be warned that they've entered into our jurisdiction.
And I think that's something that we can work with the other agencies on. We communicate well as it is, but I don't know, first thing that comes to mind to me, when they hit, when there's a wanted person or a BOLO that is entered in the flock database and it hits our camera systems, all of our officers get that alert. We don't get them if Gwinnett has a flock hit close to the line. So that's where the agency communication comes in a lot of cases. But again, we work very well, and I don't know how we would, tie something like that in to get a hit in their jurisdiction. I think it would be more jurisdiction specific, but we do communicate, and in many, many cases when we see that, potential line of travel, first thing an officer does or a supervisor does is notifies communications to let the next jurisdiction know to be on the lookout for this individual. It just hit at this location and it's heading that way.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Patrick, did you have any questions?
Chief, I apologize for walking in on the tail end of the presentation. I see here on page 2 of your presentation that District 1 has 12 installed and 6 pending. I know that I had purchased at least 20 that I can forward the documentation on, so I hope that we can get the additional 2 or however many more cameras for District 1. These were all intended as the flock LPR cameras. Is there a desire, or was there a conversation talking about regular video cameras that we can also use?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Something that I had mentioned we're working on for our real-time crime center is a much more robust camera system, which would increase the number of even flock cameras to over 250 LPR cameras, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 or more of the regular pan tilt zoom type cameras.
Okay. Once you have determined where you guys would like to put them, I hope you can come back to us and let us know where they are, and then also have a chance to reach out to our constituents. I know some of my neighbors are concerned about particular areas, and if that area is not covered, I'd be happy to put in some district funds to
Yes, sir.
have those extra cameras put in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. And you guys pretty much asked all the questions that I had, with the exception of the 549. Does that include what's pending or what has been installed already? I'm sorry, for the annual cost for the flock cameras.
That is for the total 183.
Any other questions or comments, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I know the planning for the Real-Time Crime Center is still pretty early on, but I think we're all kind of excited about it. So as soon as you can, as much as you can, I'd love to have you come back and keep giving us updates on that.
Yes, ma'am,
when you
absolutely.
can.
We're excited about it as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
It's going to be the best.
Yeah.
It is, and sharing where we can support, because as you can see, commissioners, we made an attempt to put some more money for flock cameras in the budget, but Ted said no. So, but we understand we're trying to build out.
You're just kidding about that.
I'm just kidding. No, we understand that we're trying to do a comprehensive build out of our public safety strategy with the Real-Time Crime Center. And so we have money to share. So as you give us updates, we want to make sure that we're contributing for our community members to make sure you guys are supported and they feel safe.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you so much for the presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a good day, sir.
Feel good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, one quick question, if it's all right. Part of the original request for the flock cameras that I had also had the flock trailers. And I think we had purchased 3. Is that accurate?
We don't have flock trailers. We have a different surveillance trailer platform. We have 2 of those in operation now.
Okay.
But again, part of the bigger Real-Time Crime Center will be the acquisition of additional trailer platforms.
Perfect.
And I don't know if you saw, recently we've had them deployed on the south side, and then when we had the issue in the city of Tucker, that was a big component out there, and they were very receptive to having that trailer platform deployed.
Since we have a Labor Day weekend coming up, if we had a trailer that was not in use, if I could suggest Chambly Tucker Road maybe at Alton or Embry Circle would be a great place to put that camera trailer, because I suspect we're going to have some type of activity in that area.
Yes, sir. And we are geared up for the weekend in anticipation of those type of activities.
Thank you.
And suggestion is noted. I know we keep them deployed, but we'll definitely look at it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty, so we only have 3 items to cover today on the agenda, starting first with item 2025-1107. This is for all commission districts, a resolution requesting the administration implement a DeKalb County Police Department LGBTQ+ police liaison position, require hate crimes identification training for law enforcement and for other purposes. Commissioner Terry, did you want to open on this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to DeKalb County Police. I know that we've been talking about this for about a year or so now, so to the extent that the resolution might sort of recognize that something's already happening or there are intentions to do something in the future, I think that's kind of what our goal is. And I'll just say, just generally speaking, I think the concern broader in our community is sort of that we have attacks that are happening on LGBTQ in the policy realm, and that individuals in DeKalb County ensuring that we are there for all of our citizens and residents. And the report from Georgia Equality over the last several years has just acknowledged that some survey data shows that in certain areas hate crimes are on the rise, targeted based on identity or other bias motivated incidences. This came out of the FBI crime report from the last few years. And so, yeah, really, Madam Chair, just would love to hear from Chief Pedrick and DeKalb County Police on their thoughts on the resolution, and happy to have that discussion. Thank you.
Go ahead. You want to comment, sir?
Thank you. And first, I completely support the intent of the liaison. I think it's a great idea. The biggest goal of the police department is to build trust and accessibility to our community. Some of the issues that we have to think about is fairness across all. I mean, DeKalb County is, the most diverse, or one of the most diverse counties in the country, with, the Hispanic population, the Jewish population, the Muslim population, immigrants. And if we single one group out and don't have the capacity to have liaison officers for each of those populations, I prefer to take a more inclusive approach and make sure that every officer is aware and understands, and every officer is a liaison for every community instead of having one officer responsible for that. As our department grows, which I hope we're going to grow, we've seen some incredible numbers with our background in recruiting, and I think this is something that is a luxury more than a need right now due to staffing issues and limited resources. But again, I view it as a department-wide philosophy that needs to be embraced by every officer. On this subject, when I first was appointed as the interim police chief, I sat down with one of our training sergeants, and she had prepared a presentation for all officers to receive specific to the LGBTQ+ community, and some of the things to look for, some of the things to consider, sensitivity training. And I sat through that whole class. It was just me and her. She taught the class to me. It was not an approved class at the time. I loved the class. I thought it was much needed. I thought it was great information. And so what I did was made a couple of little suggestions and then sent it to our academy director and had them review it through the police academy to see any issues from their perspective. Once it was approved by the academy director as well, I instructed them to send it to Georgia Post, to our Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. We have since gotten approval for that class to receive Georgia Post credit. So it will be a statewide certified course that she created on this particular topic. And what I've done since we have received approval from Georgia Post is what we do annually for all officers are mandated to have specific training hours every year. So we're setting the schedule for next year's mandated training. And this class will be class for every officer in our department. It will be part of their in-service training so our entire department, including myself, to the academy classes, will receive this particular class on this subject. I think it's was very enlightening. It's a very good, balanced class for everyone to hear. And again, I just think it needs to be inclusive for the whole department.
I appreciate your response. I do. That was a polite way of saying we got it covered.
Wow.
And no, I thought about some of the things that you mentioned in the former part of your statement. As diverse as our county is, I was going to ask, do we do that for everybody? I recall, and I don't know if it was you or someone else that I was speaking to. It may have been a retired officer who told me many, many years ago they had a program where they would go into the different communities, whether it was the Muslim, Hispanic, East African, and just basically develop and nurture those relationships. So when there were instances where they needed to support or were called, they knew how to respond. They knew, what the culture. So if someone didn't want to shake a hand, it was understood. So they would learn to basically speak the cultural language when they walked into those communities. And this request reminded me of that, basically just reassuring also with the LGBTQ plus community, making sure we're able to speak the language of those when we walk into those environments where they are present. I love that you took initiative, you saw value in the training that you had, and you made it something that can be memorialized statewide to say how amazing DeKalb County PD is, and how supported you are with DeKalb County government. And so I love that this is something moving, the training is something moving forward that you were forward thinking and already thought about. But I do want to make sure I'm not missing anything from you, Commissioner Terry. Were you considering the liaison position to be something similar to this community service aid, or am I way off?
Well, Madam Chair, I think, so I'll reflect that the City of Atlanta, City of Chamblee, several other jurisdictions have either created a quote-unquote position in this liaison category, or another suggestion is, and this is Georgia Equality sort of, recommendation, is just ask an officer if they could serve in that role. It doesn't mean they have to do it full-time, recognizing that there might not be every day there has to be a certain XYZ liaison thing, right? To your point about having a liaison for all of the different communities, I think that's a great idea. I would fully support that. I would even submit that would be a good recruitment tool. Because if you want to get officers that reflect the community, saying we actually are looking for experience in whether they're a religious, ethnic, former immigrant, LGBTQ sort of identities, then in a way that's simply saying to those potential recruits that this is a priority for us, we're looking for those values, and then certainly the community that we're seeking to represent as diverse as DeKalb is, I imagine would love that and appreciate that as well, and would make the job of being a public safety and a guardian all the more important. So, like a lot of things, commissioners, it's an urging resolution. At the end of the day, we'll lean on Chief Pedrick and the CEO to really sort of make the personnel decisions. And so just maybe as a potential amendment to this resolution, I would be happy to simply adjust it to be an urging resolution for the police department to develop, we'll just call it a number of liaison positions. And again, the idea of a position doesn't mean it has to be like we hire someone for this. It could actually just be an officer that does X, Y, Z, but they also have sort of, I won't call it a side hustle, but they also have a specialty, right? And so I don't know, Chief, if you'd be open to that. And really I think what I'm looking for is just the board saying we approve of the idea of having various community liaisons of different representations of our community within DeKalb Police Department. Certainly would defer to how y'all implement that and how it actually, is manifested. So I don't, any thoughts on that idea?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. Again, I want all of my officers to be a liaison for every community. And I hate to single someone out to a particular group and to say, well, I don't want an officer to say, well, you need to talk to Officer so-and-so because he's your liaison. I don't want to foster that type of environment. I want to foster a more inclusive environment. I think it would be important, like you mentioned, to have kind of a secondary assignment, if you will, where if the community does need something, this is the person to go to. We could, I could envision something like that. And it has to be willing based, because even in this discussion, I talked to several officers about their potential interest in becoming the liaison. And it was like, I don't want to do all that, So it's got to be willing participants that embrace that advocacy, if you will. So that presents a challenge in some cases, because officers are kind of resign. I just want to do my job. I want to do a good job. And I think with the whole inclusive approach, it's easier received, especially with the training and all of the training, even through the Jewish communities, in light of the situations going on nationally. We are very sensitive, and the message is pushed department wide to be respective and understand what is going on in these communities and be sensitive to that as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think that the concern I would have with the mindset of everyone can be the liaison, and I understand where you're going with that. We just want everyone in the community to feel comfortable with law enforcement, right? If they have a specific issue, if there's a transgender individual that feels they've been discriminated against, and they've had a history with police, and they might not trust police at all. But if we say, well, we actually have someone that is specifically not only trained, but maybe even has a similar identity or a similar background, and we've actually said that this person is a more trusted person because we've identified them, right? We've actually given them that title, and that could potentially allow the individual who might not trust police in general, and we can't control that, right? So I think in a perfect world, yes, we would hope that every constituent, whether they're Jewish, Muslim, Ethiopian, Eritrean, refugee, immigrant, would just, but the police are on our side. We can't really control how they choose to identify whether they trust or not trust officers. And so I think, without getting too much into, DEI sort of, methodology, the representation of communities sometimes has to be denoted so that the outside world can understand that, yes, we actually take this very seriously. The ultimate goal is that everyone, sings together Kumbaya, and we all respect and love each other, but we also have human nature that, arguably, has individuals who are skeptical and maybe not trust authority figures, and it may be because of their own personal experience. So do you see what I'm saying? I think I agree with I'm glad that you have the training, and that's amazing, because that's so crucial to have that training for every single officer, because you never know what they're going to encounter. The last point I will make about the theory of the liaison position is it does actually provide an opportunity for more proactive measures. So let's say that we had a liaison to the Muslim community. We have several mosques in DeKalb County, and I know over the years DeKalb Police, Clarkston Police did this. We would do interfaith retreats and tours where we'd go and take officers and public safety to the mosque and the Hindu temple and the synagogue, and that was a really empowering moment for those leaders. But the thing that always came out of it is, okay, well, you went to the mosque once a year. Well, we want you to come every couple of weeks. We want you to be proactively showing up in the community, because it just takes that time to generate trust. And so, same could be said about the LGBT liaison, could be said about our Jewish community, could be said about our immigrant and refugee community. The more you slice it, the more you realize it will take time. And by designating different liaisons, I would argue that it gives the officers a little bit more agency to, and maybe even more sort of strategic approach to say, yeah, like X number of hours a month, we want you to actually be proactively out in the community doing things as in addition to being available to respond.
Commissioner Johnson, did you have something?
Just some thoughts. I think I'm still ruminating over this, but I really appreciate the training program and you getting that to post. I think that shows DeKalb County in general in a high regard, and that we are really taking diversity and inclusion very seriously here. We do not shy away from DEI in DeKalb County, and that's one prime example of that. The conversation in general about the resolution in front of us, I do believe that there is a place for these liaisons along with every officer getting the diversity training, because I think, as Commissioner Terry was alluding to, some communities still will feel more comfortable having one point of contact sort of thing, even though they may get more comfortable over time, realizing that all of our officers are getting that training and are part of the problem, are part of the solution, not the problem. But they still might feel more comfortable knowing that, well, this person I know gets it and I can reach out to them. So I do understand that. And I think I would like to see how we could kind of wordsmith the resolution so that it is inclusive of all the diversity we have somehow in DeKalb County. I know that's kind of hard because we are a very diverse county, but in general, I think the liaison and making sure that we are supporting the police department and the department is supporting our communities is a great concept. I think we just need to get a little more work done to get it to where we want it to be.
Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, when I first got elected, I had conversations with your predecessor and the law department as well. That's where we had the non-discrimination ordinance came out, and there was some conversations we had about a liaison in particular, and Chief Ramos gave essentially the same answer that you did. What she had not given, though, was the statements you made that you had the individualized training and then had pushed that up to post and gotten that recognized. So I want to commend you and your team for that. That is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
I do like the idea of being aware of the other communities that we have here in the county as well. I know Doraville PD, Chief King at the time, would frequently take his officers over to the mosque, introduce the officers, particularly the new ones, so that there was that relationship, that if anything came up, they knew who to talk to right away. Generally, I'm supportive. I think there is some wordsmithing that can be done, as Commissioner Johnson has said, that can get, might not get 100% where Commissioner Terry's looking to go, but I think in the neighborhood, and I think what you've done so far is commendable. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, and I'm going to need central staff to help support me in this, because there was a specific request for LGBTQ plus. Well, Chief, maybe you can help with this part. If you have any data to show for reports that impacted persons that identify with that community, if we can just have some numbers to see if this specific liaison position should be implemented, because we have a high number of incidences, potentially. I don't know what's going to come of it, but just to give us an idea from that perspective, and you wanted to respond to that, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I did research that data going back to January 2024.
Okay.
And I didn't look at just the LGBTQ plus community. I looked at hate crimes total reported to the police department. And off the top of my head, I believe there were about 15 reports in total for the last 17, 18 months. And of those, none of them had been adjudicated as a hate crime. It was just the initial report was marked as such. And of the total 15, I believe, and I can get the numbers, I don't have them in front of me, I believe there was only 2 specific to LGBTQ plus.
Okay. And then Well, I'll just go ahead and mention what the other thing was that I was going to request of central staff, specifically because LGBTQ plus was mentioned in this resolution, is if we could hear from, I don't know if we have a local organization, but maybe Georgia Equality or someone that might be able to share their feedback on the resolution, or if they're familiar with how other areas have addressed the concerns. Just something to help guide the decision-making here. But what actually piqued my interest is you said hate crime, and I'm wondering if this should be a hate crime-specific resolution as opposed to LGBTQ+. But as you can see, my mind is running, so I would like to defer this just so, some of these concerns and requests can come out. Are there any other questions or concerns? Commissioner Terry?
Yes, and part of this was in the packet. It was related to the May 2023 Equality Progress Report from Georgia Equality for DeKalb County, and so in that they outline non-discrimination ordinances by city, so you can see what cities have NDOs, the cities that do not. And then a few more statistics that are kind of in line with the policies at large that Georgia Equality has been asking local jurisdictions to implement. And so this is on the list, right? So we have the DeKalb County Employee Non-Discrimination Policy. We have one for sexual orientation. We don't fully have one for gender identity. It's not clear based on this last report. This is more of an HR question, Madam Chair. If we have a non-discrimination law for employment, housing, and public accommodations, non-discrimination policy for employees and customers, that's under the DeKalb County contractors. And then the last two were hate crime reporting, which again, I think we're already doing it. So this again might just be something where we're affirming that we have the training and we're doing it. So I'm not as concerned that we're not reporting it. I am concerned about hate crimes. So that's a piece. And then the liaison position, really, I think that's just something has been developed over many, many years. I mean, the resolution refers back to the Stonewall riots, which if you're in the LGBTQ community, Stonewall is a pivotal moment because that's literally when police came and just busted a bunch of heads at a gay nightclub. And so that's just a historical moment 50 years ago, right? We've come a long way since then. But one of the solutions to create greater trust, transparency, and community relations with our diverse community, such as the LGBTQ community, is this liaison position. So I'd be happy to invite Georgia Equality to come and sort of present. They could talk about Atlanta, Chamblee, other jurisdictions and how they've implemented it, just for the commissioner's benefit. And they'd be, more than the experts to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Johnson?
No questions. I was just curious for the deferral. Were you thinking 30 days or?
What would that date be? The 23rd?
First, ERPS in October.
Okay. October. Okay, yes, 30 days. October 7th. Okay.
So at this time, I move to defer item 2025-1107 until the first ERPS committee meeting in October, which is October 7th.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All righty. Thank you, sir, for sharing.
Thank you all.
Okay, so we have a couple of items from Human Resources and Merit Systems. All commission Item 2025-1068, all commission districts. This is a request for proposals number 2025-020, RFP Employee Assistance Program. This is a 5-year, multi-year contract, and it consists of psychological counseling for all county employees for both personal and work stress-related conditions and/or other issues. The recommended award is to the highest scoring proposer who is responsive and responsible. Keystone Peer Review Organization, LLC, amount not to exceed $725,000. How you doing?
Hello. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As stated, this is for our EAP program. Our EAP program provides confidential counseling sessions for our employees. It's all free of charge, up to 6 per issue. Also offers legal and financial assistance, and all the counseling is performed by licensed professionals. And it's a 5-year contract.
Do you know the utilization for, and I know it offers a series of things, but overall, the utilization of the programming?
It's about 10%.
Okay,
On average, about 49 cases per month.
okay. Commissioners, were there any questions or comments? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I see that there were 4 responsive bidders, looks like 4 proposals received. Is this the provider we've used in the past, or are we switching providers?
It's the vendor that we used in the past.
Okay, they still came out on top again.
Correct. So the other 3 were actually non-responsive.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Patrick, did you have something?
I did. You mentioned about 10% of our employees use that. Is that high, average, below?
It's a little bit higher than average. The national average is around almost 6%. One of the reasons why we think it's higher, we do a lot of advertising and marketing. We do quarterly info sessions every month. Marketing, EAP, letting employees that is there, letting them know that we have this service. And we also talk about it in our new employee orientation.
Okay.
And that's every 2 weeks. So we do a lot of marketing.
Wow, great. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And the 725, is that based on only 10% usage, or even if we were at capacity, it would?
So they charge by the number of employees. So right now, we have an average around 6,600, and the rate is $1.63 per employee. But then we also have additional services with our EAP program. They also help us with like targeted training, and also they respond to critical incidents.
Okay. And do you guys know why, even nationally, the average is, 6%? Why nobody, why people don't want to use it? Y'all, we paying for it.
I know. That's why we try to do a really good job of putting it out there and letting employees, they're not out there alone. We have our program to help, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Johnson?
I do have a question. I know you're already promoting it, but I'm curious, in light of the incident with Officer Rose, was there extra promotion? Do we have any idea if employees have been utilizing that after such a tragedy?
I'm going to ask our employee occupational compliance manager to come up and speak to that. And then also, police has their own counselors too so.
Okay.
But I'm going to have somebody up.
So because everything is so confidential, they try not to track anything individual. That's why the utilization is based on the case numbers. So
Yeah.
if you have a particular issue, that's how they track it.
Right, but so you may have seen an uptick maybe in utilization, would be
Yeah.
the only way to kind of see.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Maybe next quarter.
Yeah, the next quarter, if we see a little bump, and we've been tracking it every year. It's so 49 cases this year. It's been increasing every single year. I think the initial year we looked at was 43? Oh, 39. We went from 39 to 49, so it's a big pickup.
so, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All righty, so we are ready for a motion on this item.
Yes, ma'am, I move to approve item 2025-1068.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Wonderful. All right, so you have the next one as well, 2025-1201, all commission districts. This is change order number 3 to contract number 123-9452, Employee Assistance Program. This is also a multi-year contract for use by the Department of Human Resources and Merit System. This contract consists of psychological counseling for all county employees for both personal and work stress-related conditions and/or other issues. Wait a minute, that reads very similar. This request seeks to ratify a previously provided term increase This request also seeks to increase the contract term and funds through November 30, 2025, awarded to Keystone Peer Review Organization, LLC, amount not to exceed $28,500.
So Commissioners, this is to extend our current contract. It ends on August the 31st. So it just allows purchasing time to execute our new contract, the same vendor, Keypro.
Okay.
So we're just asking for a 3-month extension and also asking for $28,500 for those 3 months.
Gotcha. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we can approve this out of committee today, but it wouldn't get approved from the board until September 9th. So we've already accounted for that little bit of, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All righty, we're ready for a motion.
Yes, ma'am. I move to approve item 2025-1201.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome, wonderful, thank
Thank y'all.
you. And so we only have one more item under Finance and Risk Management, item 2025-1202. There was a request to hold this item in committee, and this is for the nationwide fee structure change. So anything y'all want to discuss for the next 30 minutes?
I move we adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Aye.